basketball!
Welcome back, everyone, to Good Morning Let's Basketball. Thanks for tuning in once again. My name is Mike, and these are my co-hosts, Kevin, Victor, and Daniel. And today, we've hit a milestone, folks. 500 subscribers. I believe we're currently sitting at 503. Want to give a special thank you to everyone who keeps coming back and keeps watching us because this channel is nothing without our audience. And we just appreciate all the love you guys have been showing us. We appreciate everything. If you enjoy the content, as always, make sure to like and subscribe. If you're listening on Apple or Spotify, we'd appreciate a rating. We appreciate you tuning in on those platforms as well. But today, folks, we got a packed plate. We got a lot to talk about, a lot of great topics. We're going to start out with which NBA player, current NBA player, has the most to gain from winning a championship. Kind of a retrospective topic on some of the careers of these players. Next, we're going to go into Dan Hurley's. For those who don't know, that's the UConn head coach. His comments about Zach Edey's NBA future. After that, we're going to move into are players better or worse between eras, which is going to be an interesting topic. That one's going to be hosted by Kevin. Then we're probably going to end up at comment of the week just to show love back to everyone who's been showing love to us. So we appreciate you all being here, but we're gonna hop right into it. So the first topic on our plate today: which NBA player has the most to gain from a championship? What do you guys think?
I think the only answer is Jason Tatum. It seems like best player on the best team. We've seen this team go to Eastern Conference final year after year. I think that there's an immense amount of pressure on his shoulders. I think that if they don't do something this year, that the media is going to be going after Tatum. We've seen his playoff numbers kind of not be that good sometimes. In the fourth quarter, he'll kind of shit the bed. But I think it's very early to like crap on him. He's so young already, and like LeBron said, like he didn't win his first championship till 28. I think Jordan did too, and then Jokic was like 27, which was last year. Steph Curry, I think, was 27 or 26 too. So we just gotta wait. But I think though with the NBA media and everything, there's a lot of pressure on Jason Tatum.
I'll kind of agree too. I gathered like a little bit of a list that I'm going to get into some of the names later, but one name that I kind of highlighted as the player that has the most pressure right now would definitely be Jason Tatum. Kind of like to reiterate what Victor said, best player on the best team. To be honest, if Tatum doesn't win a ring this year, I don't think he's ever going to win one. I think that if he does have a year to win a championship, it is 100% this year. With the way the East is building up, with how strong the Western Conference is, it's only going to get tougher from here on out. The team is very good this year. Um, Last year in free agency, there was talks of if Jaylen Brown was coming back, and he did coming back, signing that 5-year deal that we all know about. So if they lose this year, there's really no telling about what's going to happen with the team. I believe Tatum is going to becoming a free agent this offseason, if not next, if I'm not mistaken. And they're definitely going to have to pay him as well. So, yeah, I think out of all the players in the league, I think Tatum definitely has the most pressure. Best team. He's got it all around him. He's got a lot of experience. He's been to the finals. He has a bunch of playoff experience, knows what to expect. So, yeah, I don't believe there's really any excuses anymore. He's got to get it done.
Daniel, who you got?
So I mean, I definitely agree with both Victor and Kevin. Like Kevin said, I also do have kind of more than one player that comes to mind when it comes to this topic. But one player that stuck out to me was Sub-Zero himself, Dame Lillard. I think that when I think of a lot of NBA players that have been around for like say the last 5 to 10 years, there are a lot of players that haven't won a championship because it's been dominated mostly by the same people, and the same can be said for Damian Lillard. His situation in Milwaukee, it seemed like a fairy tale situation, right? You got a slashing point guard and an absolute phenom of a big, and you'd think that it would be a great 1-2 punch going into every game that they play. But there was some struggles to begin with, and to me, I just think that going into next season, if they're not able to capitalize on kind of doing anything really with this team, I think that they could get blown up, and I don't want to see that just because I think Dame and Giannis do or can work really well together, as we've seen. I think that, yeah, just going into next season, if they're not able to win a championship, it's sort of looking downhill for the rest of Damian Lillard. Not for the rest of Damian Lillard's career, but it's just not a good thing. So I would say that he's the player that has the most to gain from winning a championship this season.
You see, I like all your guys' choices because I had three total players and two of them were Tatum and Damian Lillard. But those were 3 and 2 respectively. So I'm gonna throw a little wrench in this because my player that I chose for who I think has the most to gain would probably be James Harden. And let me tell you why it's going to be James Harden. Him and I guess you could throw Russell Westbrook because he fits a lot of this same stick, but James Harden is an MVP without a championship. I think any MVP without a championship is it's a terrible case for how great of a legacy they left, especially if you were the best player in the league at one point. This is a guy who's top 75. This is a guy who is called consistently one of the greatest scorers of all time while still active in the league. And, the connotation of James Harden in recent years has been that he's just a complete cancer to his teams. We saw that in New York. We saw that in Philadelphia. He doesn't have a good rep, and he doesn't really make his case either, calling Daryl Morey a traitor and cheater and liar and whatever else he called him. But James Harden's 34 years old, and Paul George may leave in the offseason. We don't really know what the contract agreement is there. So I really think this could legitimately be James Harden's last chance to win a ring and solidify his legacy as a champion. So we got Tatum, we got Harden, we got Sub-Zero Dame Lillard. Any other players anyone else has thought of?
Yeah, I kind of wrote down a lot, and not it's some of the players on my list aren't necessarily like who has the most to gain, but just regarding their like situations and their age, I kind of felt worthy of noting them down. One other player that I had in mind was Giannis. It's because he has a little bit of urgency. He's 29 years old. He'll be 30 next year, and he relies pretty heavily on his body and athleticism. So his window to win championships, I think it's kind of closing a little bit. So, you know, I don't believe Milwaukee's going to win a championship this year, just for a lot of reasons. There's a lot of holes on that team. I don't think that team can at all beat the Boston Celtics in a 7-game series if either of those teams do make it to the Eastern Conference Finals. And to be honest, the Bucks might not even make it to the Eastern Conference Finals. So first off, they need to get there.
Yeah, I don't
But
think they
yeah,
will, personally. I agree with you.
there's a great chance they don't. But the reason why I said Giannis is just because the urgency's sake. He's getting a little bit older. He when a player like him, like he relies a lot on his body and his athleticism, and after a while, like that fades. And a lot of older players, they simply rely on their skills. I mean, the way KD was able to stay great for so long, you could say LeBron, even though he's kind of in his own world, and then Curry too. Like we're looking at the all-time greats here. Like these guys, like they have a really great skill set too, that still allows them to be great. Thirdly, I got Jokic as well for the simple fact of what he can accomplish if he wins another championship. If Jokic pulls off another NBA championship this year, that'll be back-to-back championships, which is always great. It's very hard to do. But I believe him winning another ring this year will put him in the conversation for a top 5 center ever, 100%. On top of that, he has the great possibility to win his third MVP this year. If he accomplishes his third MVP, second championship ring, to be honest, it's going to be really hard for me to keep him out of the top conversation for top 3 centers of all time
He's not even
with all
30
the other
yet
time.
either, right? He's 29.
No,
He'll
I
be
think
30 next year.
no, he's
Wow.
28.
No, I think he's 29.
No, he just turned 28, I'm pretty sure.
Jamie, can you look that up for us?
Yeah. Either way, 28, 29. I mean, it's
Oh, okay.
29.
He's 29. Yeah.
either way.
I don't know, guys. I'm seeing here he's 20.
Sources, check the sources.
Somehow it
Um,
looked up Nikola Jojic.
Oh, Nikola Mirotic. Yeah, that's the guy. 45. But yeah, so Any
Can
other
I hear
players? Go
can I
ahead.
hear a repeat of Kevin's list?
All right, real quick, I'm gonna run through some of the names that I have, and I'm just gonna give a short, brief discussion. So, in the slight off chance that this happens, we have LeBron. Already, arguably, depending on who you ask, greatest player of all time. I mean, the dude has a triple double. If you put his career stats together, 40K points, 10,000 rebounds, 10,000 assists. I don't think any other player in the history has that. So anything he really adds to his resume at this point in the career is basically just icing on the cake. Then I have Curry. Curry wins his fifth ring. That puts him top five all time, 100%. Embiid. If Embiid wins the championship this year, coming off a meniscus tear, leading the now play-in seeded 76ers to an NBA Finals, that'll definitely silence the haters. I'm haters, by the way. Luca. Luca winning a championship would prove that he is a winner and he can win and he's capable of taking his team to a deep playoff run. I think that's like the biggest question he has around him right now because people always wonder like, oh, when's he going to win an MVP? Yada yada yada. But I would like to see him win a championship more than him win an MVP. Just me personally, because there is that stigma around him that he can't win or lead a team. Then very lastly, kind of just like a wild card answer, but I have Shea. If Shea is able to pull this off, leading a team as a 25-year-old, I believe that if the Thunder were to win this year, then it could be the start of a new dynasty. So that was the list of players that I had.
So let's take a. Oh, I'm sorry, Victor. Did you have something to say?
Yeah, we're forgetting one player,
Don't say it
Jimmy
because I want
Butler.
to say it.
Jimmy Butler's. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
actually a huge pick.
yeah. Is
Yeah.
that
Damn,
who you
that's a.
had, Daniel?
No, no.
I was gonna say, man, that one is definitely one who has something to lose by not winning a championship. But
What were you gonna say though, Miles?
I was just gonna say, let's just take a vote because it is which NBA player has the most to gain. So who do we think has the most to gain from winning a championship?
I say Tatum.
Tatum.
So I don't know. I mean, I guess I would say probably Tatum, but I do want to give another name that was on my list too.
Yeah, go
Um,
ahead.
so first of all, I want to say I couldn't agree with Kevin's list more, minus Embiid. I couldn't give two shits if Embiid won, and if even if he did, I would not expect anyone to give him any money. Um, yeah, that's a one-time thing, and I would expect the whole league to like just break their feet before that happens. But anyway, yeah, that list is great. What I wanted to say about LeBron is he's one of my big ones just because right now I think especially with Curry tying him for championships, the conversation still is, LeBron and Jordan. But as we've seen, it's still a huge debate. And a lot of people, say that championships are the number one determinant of who's better. And I just think that he definitely has the most to gain from winning a championship. So I guess I would go back on what I said and change my answer to LeBron. Just because I do think that if he were to win his fifth championship, then it's not that he's not chasing that ghost in Chicago, but I think the masses, right? And the people that like basketball will definitely say five championships, however many all-star appearances, not that those matter, but they're going to put them in there anyway. How many years played, all-time scorer. Like I just think that it'll be easy for them and easy for everyone to kind of just admit that okay, LeBron has won his fifth championship. Even if he doesn't win a sixth, he's the best NBA player in the world or ever. And I think that that conversation will be clear. Right now, he's two away, so it's a little bit more difficult for that conversation to be had. So yeah, I guess when I think about it, I think that LeBron has the most to gain. And then the other player was KD. I think that KD, everyone knows he's obviously one of the greatest shooters and just greatest bucket getters of all time. But if he were to win a championship away from Curry, because Curry won one without him, that puts him in a different conversation and a different stratosphere as far as I'm concerned when it comes to talking about Hall of Famers and who's better than who in this day and age. If KD could somehow win a championship without anyone basically. Well, I guess he obviously he has D book, but like if he won a championship without Curry, and without going to LeBron or Giannis or any of these big players, I think that would solidify him just a little bit higher on the rankings.
All right. So 2 Tatum, 1 LeBron. Right, Daniel? You want LeBron?
Yeah.
1 LeBron. And I guess I'll go. Tatum was a very close second for me. So I guess I'll give Tatum the benefit of the doubt over Harden because I think Tatum's legacy is he's more up and coming. So I'll go with Tatum as well.
I point something out about
Go ahead.
Tatum. He's 8-0 without Jaylen Brown this season.
It's a funny stat.
Does anyone remember? Does anyone remember what I said a long time ago about Jaylen Brown and Tatum?
Yeah, let me go into my memory here and find it.
The Celtics. I said a while ago that I think that long term the Celtics can't win without Brown, but they can win. But they can win without Tatum, but they can't win without Brown.
Wait, what? Say that
I
again?
let's save that for
Yeah,
next week, man. That's
Oh,
that's an
so
interesting take.
so what Victor said kind of just debunks what you said a long time ago. No,
Yeah. Bro, I thought you were from the future. What's going on?
Maybe he is. Maybe he's right. He's telling us stuff we can't even interpret yet.
I'm telling you, man. I'm gonna start drawing shit on the board. You guys won't even understand what language I'm drawing in.
All
barely
right.
know what you say half the time. Moving on to our second news topic of the day. UConn men's head coach states that if Zach Easy, it's a good nickname. If Zach Edey isn't a lottery pick and a tremendous NBA player, then something is severely wrong with the NBA. There's a reason this guy coaches college. But this kind of drew a bigger question into my mind is with Zach Edey coming in and just, the culture of the NBA just constantly switching around, could we possibly see the return of the traditional big?
No. Simple answer, in my opinion.
Yes. Yes.
Really? Explain.
Just, I mean, I'm not going to go off on a tangent here, but in everything, right? In history, we know that things repeat themselves. And I do think that there is a strong push in the NBA right now of a lot of shooting and a lot of high paced offense and shooting beyond the arc and everything like that. But what does that do, right? That just leaves rooms for gaps. So when one thing excels, something else is going to be lacking or not being paid attention to as much. So if you can sneak a really efficient big down there and he can get buckets, why wouldn't you do that? Especially when they're keeping the games close or winning championships like in Nikola Jokic's case. So to me, I think that it's kind of just the law of how things go, right? If there's more people taking threes, then there's more of a gap opening in the paint, and so that will be filled, and that will become the next thing that grows until that gets too dominant, and then we switch back to a style of ball that's more three centered. Yeah, I think that that's kind of the position or the area that we're going. So I do think we'll return to the traditional big. How long will that last? Who knows? Probably not long until we see another Curry pop up and change the game of basketball once again.
Yeah, I was gonna say when I think of like NBA bigs in the league and how they're just like diffused, I kind of went with like I consider a traditional big different than like a lob threat big. So like I think a traditional big would be like Zubats or like Jakob Pertl maybe. Then like there's like the lob threat bigs, which would be like Derek Lively, Rudy Gobert. And then the stretch bigs are like Miles Turner, Chet, Brooke Lopez, like centers like that. So when I think of traditional bigs, the two I listed, I guess, were Jakob Pertl, because there's not a lot of them in my opinion, but the better ones, Jakob Pertl is on a notoriously bad team this year, the Toronto Raptors, and Zubats is what the fourth option on the Clippers right now. I just don't think there's a lot of value in traditional bigs compared to pretty much anything else. And I don't consider Zach Edey really mobile enough to be a lob threat either. Like obviously he's like 7'4", he's gonna be a lob threat, but like not a pick and roll mobile lob threat. So especially with the speed of the game. I don't really see a return happening anytime soon, but I'm interested to know what you guys think.
Yeah, I don't hate that. I think with the game, like in the NBA, like the way it's going, we're seeing a lot of the teams being focused on getting that big like Wemby that's able to space the floor, able to shoot it from beyond the arc and stuff like that. And with Zach Edey, I think it's gonna take a couple years for him in the NBA to develop to get used to the game speed of the NBA because every level you go up in your professional career, it's going to get faster. The game's going to be quicker. He's going to have tougher opponents to guard in the NBA, and teams are going to be able to figure out how to stop him easily because right now he doesn't have that mid-range shot or three-point shot. So he's very does most of his work in the paint. I think if he could develop a lot of like better footwork and have a lot of variety in his moves in the post, I think he could end up being a really good player for a certain team, whatever team he lands on. And I think just getting quicker with his ability to do pick and rolls defensively, I think he could be something in the league. But right now, I think it's going to take a while for him to adjust.
So
I
within the past few years, we've kind of just seen like basically the whole league trying to formulate what the Warriors pioneered, basically, which is living and dying by the 3-point shot. And the rest of the league has caught up, I believe. I mean, just watching games in general, we see a lot of teams just run a lot of offensive sets where it's the main purpose is a 3-point play, and damn near anybody in your starting lineup in most teams can shoot that 3-point shot. So this is kind of just like I said earlier, just culture switch and the switch in style of play. Now, could I see the traditional big come back and have more of them in the league and on teams? I definitely think so. But I don't think we will ever see a team centered around a traditional big and try to win a championship that way. For the simple fact that, yeah, the game has changed and it's not as efficient anymore. But within the next few years, we possibly could see, like Daniel said earlier, history repeat itself a little bit and have a traditional big be a like very solid role player on the team, but not so much them being like the centerpiece of your franchise and winning off that because I don't believe it's sustainable or efficient.
one thing I should have like thought about before I gave my answer is the fact of how the question is worded, right? So it's traditional big. When like you were saying, Miles, there's a lot of different adaptations now to guys that are 6 foot 11 and higher, and there's a lot of different skills or athleticism types that they utilize to get a bucket. So when I think about the question, I guess not that it's a bad question, but if I was thinking about the question, right, would maybe say that the NBA could be moving in a position that is more center related or like center oriented in a way. Just kind of playing the offense through these guys that are have just insane ball IQ and yeah, really good hands. I mean, like I said, we've seen it with Wemby. Giannis is not a great example of that, but he is even someone that is efficient and someone that they play around. So yeah, I do see it as something that has a lot of potential. But like Kevin said, when we're talking about traditional bigs, we'll probably never see that happen again. I guess I would agree with that.
Yeah, I was gonna just make the point quickly that as I think the game is shifting even farther away from traditional bigs, and one of the takes I saw on it was by Alex Hoops on YouTube. Shout out Alex Hoops. He said that Mark Daigneault, the Thunder head coach, is currently up for Coach of the Year, potentially going to win it this year, and he has one of the most innovation-based offenses in the league by using Chet. And Chet is like, I know we see Wemby, but we could group Wemby and Chet in the same category. But these are centers who really are not stocky. They're extremely mobile, and they're like stretch bigs to an extreme almost. And centering like Chet is the piece that put the Thunder over the top this year. And I really think that teams are going to start trying to replicate something like that. But I just think that's like an interesting take that as the innovation of offense grows with these centers and they become extremely mobile, like teams are winning So I really think the direction is moving away from players like Zach Edey.
I like that, Miles, but I think it's hard to find bigs that are 7'4" and can move like Wemby and Chet. That's rare to find. These guys are like demigods of the NBA because to move at that size, like, and be able to dribble, shoot like that is just unheard of. We haven't seen that until today's NBA. And another thing I wanted to point out was Kevin was talking about the 3-point shooting with bigs. You see that now a lot, and Zach Edey, he hasn't really had a 3-point shot. I think he's 1 for 2 in the season, 50% from three. And Bam Adebayo was saying, I literally woke up one day and was like, I'm going to shoot threes today. So we're starting to see these NBA centers starting to take threes more, and that's going to play into the offenses. And I think NBA teams are looking for that. They want these bigs to be able to stretch the floor.
I
Um,
mean, looking at Edey's mechanics, I'm not sure that a jump shot is in his near future. And also, we have seen someone as big as Edey. His name is Taco Fall, and he's arguably more mobile.
Yeah, that's what did I say?
You said we've never. I thought you said. Oh, you meant Chet. I'm sorry. I thought
Chet
you
and
meant we've never
Wemby, yeah.
seen one someone like Edey. I was like, we have though. All right, go ahead, Daniel. Sorry, my bad. Misunderstanding.
no, I wasn't sure if we were kind of going on the topic of Edey at all, or if we were just kind of using that as a catalyst to talk about the rest of the situation. But I honestly do think that Zach Edey should be a lottery pick, and he does deserve it. I'm gonna play a little bit of devil's advocate here, but I think if you're a GM or if you're someone scouting him, you would be dumb not to show interest, just because of purely his efficiency, right? It is not easy to make a bucket, in my opinion, right? I don't know how it is, but I would assume that it's not easy to get a bucket and to let it drop in a college basketball game, let alone March Madness, right? But he's doing it, and he's doing it at a rate that's absolutely ridiculous, right? Some guys drop 30 points once in the March Madness tournament. Sometimes they drop it twice, but rarely do you see them averaging as many points as Edie is. And when I think about like, okay, because I've talked to some of my fellow podcast hosts about this already, and I get the concern with Edie. His ball is not pretty, and there is a lot of people on TikTok and on Instagram that say like watching Purdue basketball is terrible. But the truth is that like when I think of Nikola Jokic, right, and when I saw him in person, he didn't get a lot of his shots to fall the first time, but the important part was that he did get them to fall. If it wasn't off of a rebound, it was or a sloppy shot, he was still getting that bucket to drop. So to me, that is an important factor, especially it should be an important factor to any NBA team. So for that reason, I would just say Zach Edey is probably going to be at the very least a good addition to whatever team he's on. I don't think it would be a bad decision to pick him up, and early too. Is kind of what I'm getting at.
Yes, the one thing I would add is against Tennessee, he took over 20 free throws, and I do agree. I am not saying it is an easy task to score in March Madness, but I think it's going to be far harder to score in the NBA when the opposing team's centers and upper level and height players are much more disciplined and easier. They understand the game better to not have to foul him so much. The thing about watching Zach Edey in college, not to dive too deep into college ball, is whatever team he plays, you can guarantee their starting center, their starting forwards, and most likely their backup center is going to get in foul trouble. And it's just because he's too big. He's too big for that level of ball. And I'm not saying he can't be successful at the next level, but it's going to be difficult when most NBA centers, especially the traditional ones, are roughly his size and more disciplined with hands. So I think it can go either way, but I see what you're saying too.
The college refs also have no idea how to officiate a basketball game with Zach Edey playing in it. And it's quite upsetting. It's extremely sad. The amount of times I've seen this dude push off to get a rebound, the amount of times I've seen him travel catching the ball under the basket, and he'll take just 2, 3 quick steps. Now, We know the NBA travels can get called. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. But Zach Edey isn't at that level to where he can get away with it. And also, like, I don't think he's going to be able to score over Embiid, Jokic, Wemby the way he can score over, like, I don't know, Jaden Ledee off San Diego State. I don't even know if they played San Diego State, but he was the biggest dude on the team. He was like 6'8".
Tennessee was horrible, dude. I'm just bringing that up for recency reference to people who watch March Madness. That game was horrible to watch. They had a freshman
It
who
was.
averaged 5 minutes a game play a majority of the second half because they were
Yep.
in that bad of foul trouble.
Because like 3 or 4 of their players were in foul trouble. But Dalton Connect,
Goat.
y'all keep an eye out for him. That's not the
Hey,
freshman. That was the dude that was hooping that dropped like 37
Yeah.
that no one's talking about.
I thought he was in Player of the Year voting, but I could be wrong.
I think he is, but he's projected to go like anywhere from 10 to 12 in this year's mock draft. Not important, but just thought I'd throw it in. Maybe he can go to Chicago.
We can only hope. Final thoughts on Zach Edey.
I said it once about an Indiana center. I'll say it again. I think that whatever team picks him up he'll be in good hands, and I think that in the next few years you'll see him prosper and he'll be successful. That's my opinion.
I think that if Purdue wins the national championship, I think his draft stock's gonna go up. And I think you just gotta give him time to adjust to the league and see how he truly pans out.
Yeah, I think I'll just throw one in. I think he has a lot of potential. I think I've heard he's a sponge on and off the court, very smart, understands the game, willing to learn, very disciplined player. I can imagine him in like, I don't know if Steven Adams is back. I haven't watched a lot of Rockets games as of late, but I know that Steven Adams is most likely going to come off the bench for the Rockets. I could see Zach Edey in a similar role. I don't think, I think UConn's head coach hyped him up a little too much here.
I
I
agree.
think
A sponge is a great analogy.
I think
And
he'll
if
be
you
a
catch
starter. I was just gonna say I think he'll be a starter. Long,
All right,
like
dude.
not short term,
Bro.
not short
Do you
term,
do
but
you
like
do,
eventually.
do you go to Purdue?
No,
I feel like bro's
You sound like
refuting
it.
everything we're saying.
I know.
no. I don't know. It was me on an island when I said my shit about Trace, and I had to take the abuse. But
To be fair, I said if there was one team Trace was going to be good on, it would be the Warriors. I wasn't on the pod yet though, but I will stick to that claim. I was with you with him on the Warriors.
But I like Trace's potential in the NBA a lot better than Zach Edey's because Trace can
that's
run the
just
floor and he's super athletic. And there's like we've seen a lot of like athletic fours find like solid success in the league.
yeah.
Before we get back into the pod, we want to thank you guys for tuning in. And if you guys could leave a like and subscribe, your support goes a long way. We just hit 500 subscribers. We want to thank you all for continuing to support us and listen in. We drop episodes every Friday at 12 p.m. Central Standard Time. And back to the pod.
All right, so we're gonna move on to a little interactive segment for y'all. I'm gonna be hosting this one. So I'm gonna be asking these fellas right here. I got a list of players, and we're gonna see if they would be better or worse off in today's era. So these are a little bit older players. Anybody that was in the 90s and before. But yeah, older players, if they will be better or worse off in today's era. First name on the list, third in NBA all-time scoring, Karl Malone. Would he be better or worse off in today's era?
I think that's easy. I think he's worse off. And I think he's worse off because one, he won't have John Stockton to throw him the ball. That's besides the point because there's other guards, but I think the physicality, I know people, ooh, the 90s were so much more physical, but like at the end of the day, they were a lot more physical. And Karl Malone is arguably one of the most dirty players of all time. I think playing now he'd get kicked out of the games. He's extremely strong, but the big thing is he's a mid-range specialist. And the mid-range shot is essentially dead in today's NBA. He was also extremely, extremely successful in the 90s. So I don't see him being more successful now because he's third on the scoring list. But what do you guys think?
I would actually take a different route and say that going off of kind of our topic, talking about bigs, I think it would be not easy, but it would be fair to assume that he could find a home on somewhat of a decent team right now, whether it
That's
be,
not
let's
better
say,
than the 90s though. It's if they're better or worse today.
I guess you're right. Because, yeah,
Because he could definitely play today, but
right.
it's if he's better or worse. Not to cut you off.
No, no, but you're right. Yeah, I guess that's tough. When you rephrase it like that, I mean, I guess there are better people, and he probably wouldn't win as many accolades as he did. So yeah, I guess he would be worse off. You're right. Carl Malone. Carl Malone worse off.
I think he's gonna be. I'm gonna go better. I'm gonna say he's gonna be able to feast on these on these skinny NBA centers now, like Wemby and Chet. He's just gonna be able to body them down, and he's gonna be able to make his easy layups that way. I'm gonna go with better.
Bro does not watch Karl Malone film. Bro has never seen some film on the man. Nah, I'm playing. I'm playing.
I like all the reasonings here. If I had to compare Karl Malone to like a modern day ish NBA player, I don't know why, for some reason, I see David West. But I feel like he could be like successful in the league, but more successful than he was back then. A little bit of a stretch. But moving on to our next NBA legend, would they be better or worse off in today's era? Magic Johnson.
I'm gonna go better,
Showtime.
bro.
I agree. I 100% agree.
I might have to go better, bro. He fits the mold of what a point guard is, except for
I
like the shooting. But like,
I 100% agree. I think if Magic played in today's era, he would put up the assist numbers that Tyrese Halliburton was putting up in the beginning of the season this year. Because a lot more possessions, a lot better shooters. He was great at dishing the ball. He's like 6'8", 6'8" point guard,
6'9".
6'8", 6'9", whatever the case is.
he was
I think
athletic.
he'd
He was
be
an athlete.
extremely,
Uh,
extremely. I think he'd
I,
be better, bro.
I'm with you on better. The one thing I will say is Magic did have extremely talented teammates with Worthy, Byron Scott, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Jamal Wilkes. Like he's had extremely great teammates, but if you put him in a similar situation, maybe not with like extreme greats like those guys, but like a solid contender, I think he's at just as good or better. I think.
I think if you put him on a team with some shooters, bro,
Oh, it's
I think
over.
exactly. It'd be so lethal.
Hee hee. The
Exactly.
So I'm gonna kind of just ride off of the train that you guys are on. I do agree, but one thing I wanted to make a comment about is how many like tall point guards have we seen be successful in the last? I mean, you could go as far back as Magic's era and say like how many real tall point guards have we seen be successful? And you're gonna have a list that realistically only has maybe one name. And so I think with that being said, it would be something very unique in today's era, even though we've seen such high powered offenses and so many different schemes and things be done. This would be something that's truly a shakeup to what we are looking at right now. They tried it with Ben Simmons in Philly. They tried it with other people, I'm sure, and it just doesn't work out as well as they want it to. But Magic could be that exception. I mean, he stayed healthy relatively the entirety of his career, and yeah, with today's technology and the way that games are run today, I think Magic would be successful. I think a tall point guard would be a nightmare to have to go up against, especially in today's era.
That's extremely interesting that you brought up Ben Simmons because that is like a that's damn near a perfect comparison. Besides, I think Magic was a lot better of a playmaker That is a great comparison. And for anyone who says Ben Simmons is trash, bro, go watch the Philly tape. He was an all-star early in his career, bro. He was on the trajectory to be
Very.
great.
And then people started asking too many questions.
I think it's a mental thing with him. I think he's in his own head, but
He
Absolutely.
is.
Oh, for
I
sure.
agree.
The
I don't
injuries
think
too. Like his
like that's
back is
like
very messed up.
that's like unthinkable stuff. You know what I mean? Like Magic would not I don't think Magic would have any of those problems Ben Simmons has.
But
Besides the
yeah,
AIDS.
but yeah, like just going off of your example, I mean, put Magic Johnson instead of Ben Simmons with Joel Embiid. That's scary. That's a nightmare situation. And when they had Reddick too,
Jimmy
there's a,
Butler.
Yeah.
Like
yeah,
Tobias
that
that's a
Harris.
scary ass team, bro.
Tobias Harris, yeah,
It
there was
is.
a lot of good players that they ran through, and if you just added in a point guard that was able to do, and you know, to Ben Simmons' credit, I'm sure Magic Johnson wouldn't have developed his three either, but I mean, you know, comparing Ben Simmons to Magic Johnson, we can't. I mean, if you just put him in that position, yeah, that team would be disgusting.
Quiet,
Yes,
Victor. What do you think?
Oh, I mean, y'all hit the nail on the coffin. I'm gonna go with better too. I mean, there's nothing else to say. Y'all hit it. But
well,
I do
y'all
really
sitting here.
like what
Go
you saying.
ahead.
No, I was just saying
Go
I
ahead.
really like Daniel's comparison. So
I mean, y'all sitting here talking about him on Philly. I'm just imagining if he was on Denver.
Or
Kicking it to the next player though, former teammate of
hey,
Magic Johnson. So it's interesting this was brought up. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, better or worse?
nobody could stop the skyhook back then. What makes you think they're gonna stop it today?
Is that all? Is that all?
I mean, yeah,
Exclusively off the skyhook?
No.
It's a fair, I mean, it's fair. It is an
Don't
all-time
hate it.
unguardable move.
I'll say this. Yeah, I mean these questions and these players just roll off of the topics that we were talking about earlier. You know, talking about how the stretch bigs and just in general the game of basketball, you're definitely seeing a push towards that paint position. I guess the four and the five being able to control the floor. In Kareem's era, or not in Kareem's era, but if Kareem were to come to this era, like Victor said, with the sky hook, but also just hopefully adding to his bag because he would be a modern day NBA player. So you'd think he would train on different things, different style of game, different rules, even as we discussed earlier. So yeah, I mean, I think that his bag would get deeper, and I think that he would be a very good center, or I think he would be a very good big in the league, bigger.
Thinking, I'm glad you brought up our last topics because there's a lot we could work, but I'm gonna say that he is not bad by any means. I would say he is worse though. I think he's still successful, not as successful, but I think he's still a extremely solid player, could definitely find a role in the league, but without any type of three-point shot, it's going to be hard to get extended minutes on an NBA roster. However, he does play defense, and we do have the Jared Allens and we do have the Rudy Goberts in the league. So I could see him being a very good player for a long time in today's NBA. The problem is during his time of play, every team ran through their center exclusively. The center was the number one position. Offense was always run through the center. Center had to be your best player to win a championship. And that is not the case anymore. If he was in the league today, I'm not saying he would be Jared Allen or Rudy Gobert. I'm saying he would play a similar style to them. And that player cannot have nearly the same impact that he did in the 80s. So I'm going to go worse, but I'm going to say he could still be a very, very key integral contributor to a team.
Very solid reasonings all around. Definitely liked it. To be honest, I have no idea. I think it'd be pretty solid in today's league. Like you said, Gobert and Allen, I don't think he would be as great at defense as Gobert and Allen. He'd kind of be like their evil twin, like where they like lack offensively, he would thrive offensively. Where he lacks defensively, they thrive defensively. But moving into our final three people here, Dennis Rodman,
Mm.
Worse.
I'll die on this hill. He's trash. No, I'm playing. He's good at rebounding and defense. He's not being.
Yeah.
He's not getting on an NBA roster now.
Yeah,
He's
honestly,
not
I'm
trash.
going worse. He was undersized as a power forward.
He
Um,
guarded Shaq.
How
I'm
well?
I'm I'm about to have one of those. Did you
yeah,
guys seen that video?
I
You
could
have
guard
no
Shaq.
idea how good Tim Duncan was. You guys know what I'm talking about? Have you guys
Yeah.
seen that
no.
video? Please tell me you have.
It's a top comment
Yeah.
on Jimmy High Roller's latest video. I saw that.
You have no idea how good Tim Duncan was. Oh my god.
You have no idea how good Tim Duncan was. Oh my God!
I could come out and guard Shaq, but it doesn't mean I'm doing it well. It doesn't
He
mean I'm
did
getting
guard Shaq
70
well. What do you
dropped
mean?
on me. When? When?
There was games throughout the year. I can't pinpoint you an exact date, but he had good defensive games against Shaq.
So I'm gonna say this, right? When you guys just like went in right there and we're both you and Victor Miles were on the same page and you guys were like, yeah, no, he's definitely worse off. It irritated me just a little bit because I will die on this hill that I don't think it's a hill to die on because I think a lot of people agree, but Dennis Rodman was so crucial to Michael Jordan winning some of those championships. And I think that to kind of negate that or like well and not that people negate it, not that you guys are negating it, but I think people forget that a lot. And I think that his skills as a defensive and just an athletic phenom would be transferable to today's league. I mean, we see guys like Pat Bev and Dylan Brooks get fucking crazy contracts and money to blow basically just for being loud, just for being kind of like the kick in the pants or the firecracker or the whatever on a team. I mean, that's not why. They're definitely still decent basketball players. But my point is that I think the only thing that you would see is Dennis Rodman would be, oh God. I forget that this is worse off or better off though.
Yeah, that's why it
I
makes it
forget
tough.
about that.
So
I
much
know,
worse off.
yeah, okay.
You
I
could
just
make your case that he could still play. I mean, me and Victor basically said he's not
Yeah,
playing at all.
no, well, I
Which
think
is
all these players
horribly
could play.
incorrect. I think saying Dennis Rodman can't play at all is actually
Yeah,
like elite level hating. Being a great defender and rebounder, what team wouldn't you be on? Xavier Tillman is on a fucking NBA team. And you're telling me Dennis Rodman can't be on an NBA team
Dennis
today?
Rodman, any player who cannot play a single lick of offense cannot have a sustainable NBA career.
There's players in the league like that though,
Who?
that don't play offense very well. Just said one, Xavier Tillman. Don't sit here
Xavier
and tell me
Tillman
that Dream.
he can shoot threes though. He can stretch the floor. That's his value on offense. Dennis Rodman can't do that.
It don't really matter. Rudy Gobert can't play offense.
Rudy Gobert is the defensive player of the year. And he's
Okay,
he's
Dennis
7'2",
Okay, but Dennis Rodman can still play defense and rebound.
but he's undersized. He's
So is
undersized on
Draymond Green.
defense. Draymond Green can play offense though. Not anymore, but he could when he was the defensive player of the year. I look at players like Jared Vanderbilt. Like that guy's falling out of the league. I know he's been injured this year, but I'm looking at last year, especially the playoffs. Broke like completely fell out of the lineup. Like you just can't play players like that.
This is why I say I think that it's always hard talking about like would these players be better or worse off sometimes in the league? Because when I think of when I think of this analogy, what I imagine in my head is like imagine you just started your 2K player, right? And you bought all the VC and you got him to well, I don't even know what the number is. It's like 82 or something. You get him to 82, but then you have to grind out everything else. That's how I imagine this conversation. So you put Dennis Rodman in today's league, give him an 83 overall, and then you just basically let his natural talent and natural athleticism and abilities basically take over, and then you see what that turns into. With that being said, I would say Dennis Rodman would be good in today's league, and I think he would be. I don't know if he'd be a star, but I think he'd be a lot better off, or I think he'd be a lot. He'd be good. He'd be great. I don't know. He'd be a good player.
Maybe I'm hating a little bit for a different day. I will die on the hill that Dennis Rodman is not top 75, but we can debate that another time. I'm gonna drop that bomb here for anyone who wants to say something about that.
I think it's
We've
just difficult comparing eras, man. I hate doing this because like it's just such a tough thing to do. Like, oh, they were good then. How are they gonna do now? It's just different games, completely different style.
What do you think about what I said though, Vic?
I forgot what you said.
The 82 overall thing. Like if we're using that
Oh,
analogy, we're saying 82 overall, and then Dennis Rodman takes over and
I
just
mean,
basically.
if I was a 82 overall, I'd be good too, you know.
I don't know about that.
I mean, maybe he could be like Stanley Johnson, like come off the bench. Like on what team is this guy going to start? There's no team.
Oh,
Like,
I didn't say he could be a starter, but he'd be on a team.
I would even go as far as to say he probably would be a starter. Some
Yeah,
team is
Miles,
gonna utilize him.
you're tripping, bro. You're acting like you're making him seem like Cristiano Felicio.
Bro, he has no skills outside of defense and rebounding. None. He said it himself. He has none. What is this guy going to do on offense? I always say this, bro. I judge players off what they can do in the playoffs. And if you can literally not play offense, every team is going to scheme against that, take advantage of it, and something like that. If Dennis Rodman is playing extended minutes, that is something that can lose you a series. That's why I definitely don't think he could start. That is why I don't think he could play extended minutes. Sure, he could play like 10 to 13 minutes as a role player. I could see that. But there's just no stretch. There's no stretch. There's no ability to space. It's really hard to play a guy like that and be successful.
I just think that he would adapt his game to more accurately fit today's era. I think that if a team told him like, "Hey, we don't," and especially because he didn't really need to be scoring points. I mean, they were winning championships despite that. I just feel like they needed him in other areas. And in today's era, they would still need him in defensive and rebounding, but he would probably still be a bucket getter. He probably would be comparable to Draymond Green. Honestly, he
Draymond
probably would.
Draymond was probably the closest I could see because undersized and plays defense, but like Draymond in his prime was a great offensive piece for them, especially the playmaking. Like Dennis Rodman
Great.
has no playmaking. Yeah, great. I would argue great. He
I
was
mean, I
integral to
agree.
the first two Warriors championships, especially the first one.
I
Those
But
agree.
Kyrie and Kevin Love being out.
it doesn't change the fact of what I said though. He's still integral. So I don't think
I
Dennis
would.
Rodman touches that.
I feel like I could be too with Timothy Mozgov guarding me. But moving on.
You calling
No,
me a
no, no,
hater?
no disrespect. You are a hater. I'm a hater too, but everyone can be a hater. Moving on to our final player on the list. This one isn't necessarily a 90s player, but a player I like to consider a little bit before his time. Lamar Odom.
Successful.
Stupid successful.
I think he'd be good. For real.
I 100% agree.
I might have to check the stats and the tape a little bit, but gut is telling me there's no reason he can't be good today.
For his time,
He
his
really
play style,
was. That's an
his play
interesting
style.
pick.
Because if he's not faster than you, he was stronger than you. He was a big dude. He could dribble, he could shoot, solid playmaker. He just liked the Colombian sugar a little bit too much.
He was also at the helm of Kobe Bryant as well, so
Very
I
true.
doubt he got to and Pau Gasol. Like it's hard to shine on a team with those two, but
Yeah.
I think yeah, bro. I mean, he had a pretty solid NBA career. I guess if the question is better or worse, I think it comes down to work ethic at the end of it. I don't really know how hard Lamar Odom works. If he's a naturally hard worker, which I think you have to be to play on a team with Kobe and be a starter, I think he could easily have a better career now. But what do you guys think?
So just going off of shout out Jimmy High Roller's video, kind of recently talked about eras, and he used the 2000s and what era that we're in now as kind of comparable. And he said that the closest thing that we have to today's ball is from 2000 to 2010. So that being said, I think Lamar Odom would probably be worse off playing in today's era just because looking at his splits, I don't think that he would have made a really big impact on a lot of teams. I mean, like you guys said, he had athleticism. I don't know much about his career. I haven't watched film on him or anything like that, but just going off of kind of those basic things, I think that I don't think that the league has gotten easier. So therefore, I would just assume him to be a pretty not subpar. I guess that's too mean, but a very average player in today's league, at least. I don't think he would have as much success as he did in the 2000s.
I go with worse too. I just think with the spacing and everything, and just like Daniel said, the skill and everything like that with today's game, I don't think his game would translate over.
Y'all are tripping, bro. This dude had all of these skills to play in today's NBA. Like I said, he was dumb before his time. Y'all don't know Lamar Odom tape, bro. After the pod, yeah, I can just tell it's unknown. Go watch some tape and you'll get back to me and be like, Kev, you were right. I'm so serious. I know he don't know, but
I'm gonna watch the tape for everyone that knows. I will watch the tape, and I'm gonna find his lowlights, and those are the only things that are gonna be sent to Kevin. I guarantee it. And it's gonna be some
well,
stupid shit. It's gonna be a
what's
it's gonna be a highlight reel of Shaq and the Fools.
It's just gonna be the keeping up with the Kardashians tape. That's honestly the biggest low light of his career. To wrap up our episode today, it's been a fun one. Had a lot of good topics today, but we're gonna end our pod as we usually do with comment of the week, where we give back to the viewers who decide to leave comments on our TikTok, Instagram, or YouTube pages. We appreciate all the interactions, and this is a time where we take to highlight them. So I believe I have one. I believe Kevin has one that he wanted to highlight. So I'll go ahead and go first. This one is it's just a good vibe. It's just a good vibe comment. This comes from Kevin's Reel about picking two players from a randomly generated teams who could potentially have career highs added up to 100 points. I don't know how you want to explain it. It comes from a Kevin video, and it just says, "Nice job on winning." It's just a good vibe. It's just a good vibe comment. Nice job on winning. But
was that?
go
Go
ahead.
ahead.
I was just
I was
gonna.
gonna
I
say,
was.
shit.
Go ahead. You go. You go.
Was that on IG?
That was on, I believe, YouTube. It came from.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I didn't check the YouTube comments on that vid.
Yeah, it's just nice job on winning. You did a good job. Good vibe.
That's pretty easy. I got lucky. But I got a comment of the week also on the same video, not on the same platform though, like Miles explained. I picked two current NBA players, and their career highs had to equal up to a minimum of 100 points, and they did. I won. I'm a winner. But this comment is coming from TikTok. Did decent with the views. TikTok's a little tough to blow up on. 29 likes. One comment. This comment comes from Rowan. It was funny. He's polite about it, and he's just speaking his mind. The comment was giving me Clay vibes. No. Then I clicked on his profile, and then he had a TikTok that I agreed with. He made a video. It said, "It's okay, Celtics. Beating the Magic isn't for everyone."
Somehow
I just thought it was. I just,
Somehow.
that's not a stray you at all. You don't play for the Celtics. It's just the regular season. The regular season don't matter for
Bro
your
thinks he
state.
plays for the team.
But yeah, giving me Clay vibes. There have been some Clay comments. You have to beat the Clay accusations.
Tell me how. Shake my
For-
head.
For
My
anyone
head, my head.
for anyone listening on on Apple or Spotify, we're referring to Klay Thompson. The joke is Kevin looks like Klay Thompson. We'll leave that up to you to decide. Maybe take off the beanie. Maybe let us see the hair. The hair plays a little bit of a part.
I mean, the hair plays like 90% of the part. I won't be taking it off right now because I'll be looking like, well, what was his name? What was dude's name on Gonzaga? The white dude, Adam Morrison, I think.
Oh hell no.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah, I got severe. It's part of the reason why I wear a beanie on the pod, just so I don't hear that shit. I was having a good hair day in that video. I was feeling good. It's like a nice Thursday afternoon, sunny day. So you know what? No hoodie or hat for this video. I'm gonna show the locks.
You just get hit with a Klay Thompson comment.
The the one comment. I guess on that video there isn't much to interact with their comment. It's either I got it or I didn't. And I feel like the only two comments that I could have gotten on that video, like we got them,
That's true.
a Clay comment or a nice job.
Nice job.
Nice job on winning.
Uh, that is really funny. That's pretty funny. I didn't see that one. I always forget to check like the YouTube real comments.
I think I forgot to say who that came from, but shout out at Steelers 405. We see you. We appreciate the support.
I can't wait to see him come back on my next one.
He's gonna be like, great job. Great job on winning
Good job
this
on
one.
winning.
Or tough loss. You'll get him next time.
Yeah, that'll be on stage
Tough
when
loss,
Kevin
bro.
loses.
We want to thank you guys for tuning into the episode this week. That's going to be an end of Good Morning Let's Basketball. We drop episodes every Friday, 12 p.m. Central Standard Time. Make sure to check us out. If you enjoyed, leave a like and subscribe, and we'll see you all in the next one.